So brightest object, that orange star, you know, oh, I love the flying images that Katja has put into here to help us give it that sense of movement, yeah? So Egyptians believed that it was placed into the sky as a guardian because they had an interesting suspicion, you know, this Arcturus star. Ross said that this was curious and interesting. The pole stars, because of the Great Bear and Butes, that they curl around the pole star. In essence, they're always above in the night sky. They never go down beyond or descend beyond the horizons. And the Egyptians believed that the stars that were not in the wheel, but somehow managed to escape it and just stay above, up in the sky, they never go down, they considered them to be evil. So the most evil configuration for the Egyptians was the Great Bear, the Dipper, and that Arcturus was placed there as a guardian of them to control the evil. So if we think about what this mighty place in space, constellation, gives us as a sense of it, according to the ancient Egyptians, a protector, you know, a protector from evil. Now, what is it currently in this reality? That is, where is this protector from great evil actually influencing you, me, everybody? It's in gate 32. And what do we know about 32? 32 is a memory circuit gate. It's a place where we have the instincts, potential awareness for what might fail. It's fear of failure. And that failure happens to be on the stream of, in the material way, thinking cosmology, in the, where we are anyway, the material way, I was thinking mystically on the other side, material way, there we go. So we have a protector star that's influencing us, fourth line, about our fear of material failure. Now, if I think about what's currently happening in this reality, the advent of AI and all of these technologies, there's a lot of people who are bombarded by this fear of failure. What's going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to my company because of this disruptor, this great disruptor we call AI? Well, things have to shift with it, obviously. All kinds of industries are getting disrupted if you look at it. And so what we know about 32 is also that it's in a channel that is about transformation. Yeah, this is a great transformational time. And there's nothing that we can do but align. That is the thing that is our saving grace at this time and place and space. So just remember that even if some of these things are a bit scary, that this is a protector star, that this is here for a reason. This vast, huge star that's racing towards us at hundreds of kilometers a second, beaming, you know, I would call it poetically the neutrino beam stream that's bombarding you, me, everybody from each of these stars. So the neutrino coming close to us within the spectrum of 1 billion years, yeah, 500,000 before, 500,000 after. We're about to see it reach its peak. And from him saying this in 2007 for the next 20 years, so we're right there as far as it's going to start beginning to move away from us around this time of 2027. So it's got its own kind of marker, you could say, of transformation, because that's where it is at the end of the day. He looks at all these things as great control mechanisms. I mean, you can't escape that stream. So it's an incredibly specific place that we are going to talk again about. You remember how we were talking about it with Spica, that the 32 is the school, the godhead being Minerva. So Ra calls it a peculiar parallax taking place, that Spica rolls along in the wheel with the rest of us, Spica spiraling in our galaxy. And yet right now, it happens to be that Arcturus is combining with that energy. So Arcturus cutting through and is in the center. Ross says quite literally in that sense, that the two of them are focusing their energy, this view, through the gate 32, the school, okay, Minerva's world, where we have a fear of failure, and we have the gate of duration. Duration, the hexagram reads, the gate of continuity. The only thing which endures is change. This is a deep fear of lack on the material plane. It is, accordingly to Ra, all of these gates in the splenic center stink of death as far as they destruction. Let's say this is memory, it's also physicality. It is the potential rise of someone up the corporate ladder in order to make something of him or her or themselves, themselves. The decay of creativity. Now that is something, a keynote I find quite interesting. And if I think about what he has taught us about this area of the body graph, as far as its ability to fuel or expand upon education, because this tribal education is very important in order to bring everybody up together, that everybody is a part of something greater than just themselves, so that they're more likely to survive and thrive. I like to call it about not just survival, but surthrival. When we get to this point, thrive. I feel like thrive should be more up here. Yeah, survive and thrive. So the decay of creativity, if I think about that keynote, the creativity on the physical material plane and tribal is about making more, right? So to be able to create something that I can sell to you. I feel like that's what's true. 44s, I have unusualness, Uranus, both 44s. Okay, so a second line and a fifth line. So there is a creativity within inherently in this channel, the channel of surrender, design of a transmitter. We know that this channel down here, transformation, fuels that ability, that energy, that material plane business. So the decay of creativity, why? Because remember, channels don't exist in isolation. They are in a relationship with each other, not only within their respective circuitry, but especially within the fuel to awareness, to expression. Yeah, the streams, if you will. Streams always start with pressure, go through awareness, and then end at expression for wherever they happen to be. So this is a deep, deep fear that transcends personal failure. This is a fear that leads us to the possible expression of the awareness of what could lead to the extinguishment of the species. Okay, so it's a very, very special place at the end of the day. And when I think about its relationship to me, just something quite interesting to see. I was born over here, okay, 27 and 42 as far as my south nodes, K2. And currently shifted over to 32 and 28 at 44, almost 5 years ago, where we see over here, I'm in school, as in I'm more likely to be around people who are in school too. The school of not only work, but also finding meaning and purpose in the world, okay? Work and meaning and purpose in the world. So not just struggling to survive, but actually, my mind wants to say pedal to the metal. I'm trying to stay out of that as far as that frequency and what everybody else happens to be running around on. But tempering it with awareness. And it's an interesting dynamic that I just recently, I was invited in February to apply for a position as an adjunct faculty member at an accredited university, an actual accredited university, to help with teaching human design. Now, when I first got to this system, I was like, where are the universities that are studying this? I want to volunteer. I want to work there. I want to really, see this get out into the world in a big way. Where is it? Why isn't it here? I looked everywhere, searched and searched, asked around, couldn't find anybody that was actually using this system in a respected, accredited university. And it's very exciting that finally this day, this dream may be coming to fruition and to reality. So very interesting place to be. So it feels like one of those exciting things to share with you as far as the school and where I happen to be. So now back to Ra and his training. Remember 32, fear of failure, deep fear of lack on the material plane, death of, destruction of, decay of, creativity. Now the lack on the material plane, remember this is the gate of duration. It's a conservative gate. Politically, we're talking about people who are absolutely on the right, as in conservative. Okay, so I used to be Democratic. I am now conservative. Nothing personal. It's just what it is as far as the evolution of one's trajectory and journey. There is no right, wrong, good, bad, judgment, better than, nothing here. I'm just saying that this is where I happen to be, literally, physically, where I happen to be, to help ground that into your awareness that you can absolutely look at your political schemes inside of your body graph. Now, the 28 over here, this is the fear of death, the fear of lack of purpose in one's life, because death says, hey, you didn't make it. There's death there. And it's not just fear about the body decay or dying, body death as in physical ends, cycles of experience, that's 42. But what we're looking at with the 28 is not being able to know what one's purpose or meaning or value is individually, because this is an individual gate activation. So then we're looking at the smell, the stench of death from the 32, the knowing of the great misery of not knowing what one's purpose happens to be. Did you know that when you're itching your nose, it's a lie? I know my purpose. I don't have that anymore as far as the lie of my mind is saying desperation and the distinct lack of knowing the meaning and value of one's life. That's what I used to live like before the deconditioning process, is feeling utterly hopeless and scared that I wouldn't find the reason for being. Now, the 18 is afraid of the authority that will destroy it, limit it, kill it off. You know, we think about threat in the frequency field of the ego, according to advanced human design psychology. Okay, threat. But it is true that there's also collective worldviews that where an authority may lord it over you and tell you what to do. That time is dying as far as what is happening. There's nobody coming to save, fix, rescue you. Ra says that all of these gates fear death. Okay, we're looking at serious business when we get to that 32, because it's our special line that is dying out, that we ourselves, the human tribes, are dying, and that there would be a sharp contraction of the amount of humans on this planet. So in 100 years, we'll see what is so. Both Spica and Arcturus happening to be here because it's in the wheel, as in, this is the great cosmic dance. It's not like we're making this stuff up. They're physically together in their spiral with Arcturus outside of there, because it's doing its trip from its own angle, that they're meeting here in this line right now. So that says a lot about our current time, where we're at, you know, duration. The only thing that endures is that everything changes. Okay, so we're looking at Jupiter exalting. Right is might, says this line. Jupiter exalts says, even in times of change, certain underlying principles endure. So it's the instinct to maintain one's principles in times of change. And that this is the line that's going to take Arcturus to its nearest position to us in the solar system. And then as it moves through and beyond, it's going to be the end of its relationship to us. Now, if we were going to be alive on this planet in 500,000 years, which Ra says obviously we're not, then we would maybe see what that might that experience might bring, but we're not going to. It is the end of something. And he says it's the end of something more than anything else. It's the end. These are the end times. And, you hear that all around as far as different cultures. What he says with Jupiter here, that it's interesting to see the relativistic capability of Jupiter influencing this line. We know that the gate 32 is about instinct. There it is, instinct. And where do we hear Jupiter? Principles. The word principle, link that to Jupiter, okay? So that's the influence of the energy. If you've got Jupiter in this gate, in this line, or if you've got Jupiter across the way in the harmonic gate of the channel, 54, then Jupiter would exalt this line in you. If you've got the 32, right? In the fourth line, any planet. Jupiter in the relationship makes it for the instinct, and we could add on because it's the potential instinct and awareness, potential instinct and awareness to maintain one's principles in times of change. Because all of the line qualities were written quite short in order for us to be able to remember. And the brilliance of Ra explaining everything through circuitry and through line theory, and the centers, obviously, so that you can start to mix and match the keynotes, the language to describe something with such vivid precisity. Is that even a word? It's truly an amazing system that we have to play with. So if you look at the organizing mechanics of microcosmic or macrocosm, there we go, the macrocosm of the program and the microscopic us, our own program, we can see that all of this, whether it's out there or in here, truly they are one and the same, operates through Jupiter accordingly to maintaining one's principles in times of change. Is it right for you to do? Ra calls it the logos, the center of our solar system, Jupiter. The light of the sun obviously has great values and merit. It's our warmth and father, it is absolutely one of the things that gives us energy, vibrancy, essence, and awareness. But when we take a look at Jupiter, this is a different higher pay grade according to Ra, Jupiter. Sun is an instrument of the program, absolutely. But Jupiter, we're looking at a different way that the program is operating, particularly here now on this day, because of what's happening with Arcturus and Spica in these particular places, in this one line, together in solidarity. So now Arcturus, link that to Zeus, everything about the Arcturian myth, if we could link that deeply related to Zeus, as far as the mythology itself. What do we know about Zeus? Lightning bolts, power. You could say magic, but that usually is associated with humans because God powers are inherent, intrinsic, a right with might to fight, So we see Arcturus, truly link that to Jupiter. Okay, link that energy, Arcturus, to Jupiter right now. Lock it in. Now, where Jupiter will establish right action in the larger social realm, we have Saturn in detriment here. Saturn's will lead to inner strength and endurance as long as it is not threatened from the outside. So in other words, this is instinct, gate 32, to maintain one's principles. You can hear principles. And if we think about the gate of principles and we look in the mandala wheel, we're looking over at the mirror gate of the 32, and that is the 49, okay? Lower principles, tribal principles. And what do we know right now about 49? It's retracting, pulling away from the 19. They're both going into their respective centers, 49 into the solar plexus, 19 into the root. And so knowing that about these mirror gates, that the energy is withdrawing, retracting, and where is that energy going to go? Tribally, the only place it can go is to the mirror gate principles. You hear it already. You hear the transformation. You hear the mutation, don't you? Right there, it says principles, here, now. when Ra wrote the Rave I Ching in 1987 or whenever, what was it? 89 maybe? 87, he had the experience. 89 maybe he wrote it. I can't remember. But anyway, the end of something, Ra says with Arcturus. This line is going to take Arcturus to the nearest position in our solar system and the end of what its relationship is to us. End of something more than anything else. Is it the end of us? Well, yeah, relatively speaking. Not very more generations of humans in 1300 years or so. And Ra says, and so it should be, just as Dubhe, where is he? There, on this day, we see it being one of the great stars, along with Alcyone and Sirius, along with Jupiter. These are the cornerstones, the four great, this is Jupiter being a failed star, so I almost said four great stars, Jupiter, not really a star, but you know what I mean. These places where the whole incarnative process is organized according to Ra and the voice, the way that life is organized. Even in times of change, certain underlying principles endure. Even in times of change, certain underlying principles endure. So relative to this current day and age, before the 2027 background frequency shift, and it's not like it's going to be like overnight, boom, everything's different. We know that, everybody carries their frequency with them. So until those of us who die, having been born before 2027, until we all are gone from this plane, we're still going to be carrying this old frequency, this old baggage with us as far as what our inherent drive, ambition, awareness, whatever it happens to be. So the magic of a nine-centered human being, you, me, everybody, as in we are in transition, that capability that we have to decondition and find inner truth, that door is closing relative to the vast majority of the population.